and welcome to the SciFirst MovieTalk episode. So in this episode, I'll be discussing the 1992 Gothic supernatural horror movie Candyman, as directed by Bernard Rose and as based on the short story The Forbidden by Clive Barker. The movie follows a pair of students looking to write a thesis on modern-day urban legends, their origins, and how they cement themselves into modern folklore. Helen Lyle, as played by Virginia Madsen, and Bernadette Walsh, as played by Casey Lemmons, both friends at UIC, are intrigued by the stories they are told of a local urban legend known as the Candyman, who, as the stories go, will appear if you call his name 5 times in a mirror, only then to have him disembowel you with his rusty hook. Candyman, as played by Tony Todd, is the supposed ghost of an artist, Daniel Robitaille, that lived in the late 19th century, the son of a slave who was brutally murdered when his relationship with the daughter of a wealthy landowner was uncovered. A tragic tale which saw his hands severed and replaced with the iconic hook by an angry mob, followed by him then being smeared with honeycomb from a nearby bee's nest and left for dead after the swarm descended. His ashes were then scattered across the land on which, in the future, a housing project by the name of Cabrini Green would be built, and in that the legend of the Candyman was born. In the present, as Helen investigates the spate of murders in Cabrini Green, each mimicking the way the Candyman kills his victims, she starts to get lost in the lore and the allure of the Candyman legend. And one night, kind of spurred on by the story and kind of engrossed, summons the Candyman, unleashing a brooding horror, which seeks to use Helen as a means to reignite his legacy. One by one, the people around her succumb to brutal attacks as the Candyman unleashes the reign of terror in a morbid bid to take Helen as his own, with her presumably powerless to stop his onslaught. So, the Candyman then, one of horror's more sophisticated and debonair killers, and one of the most heart-wrenching tales of suffering and persecution that the genre actually has to offer for one of its key antagonists. The movie has a distinctly gothic feel and with a very uniquely urban twist, bringing a story that was originally supposed to be set in Liverpool, England, right smack bang up to date for a modern audience, taking us to Chicago, Illinois, daring to tackle concepts such as race and equality head on with this nightmare vision of a neighbourhood terrified of an urban legend their fear is all too real. From the very start, the movie sets a kind of atmosphere that has you gripped. In terms of horror, although there are a few gory-ish moments, for the most part it plays on your senses and has a very psychological approach. Tony Todd as the Candyman was an inspired choice, even if he wasn't the first choice for the role. But his tall stature, his deep voice, and just all-round presence exude as we learn more about the character of the Candyman, and indeed as he seduces Helen. Todd made this role such that he is synonymous with this character as Robert Englund is to Freddy Krueger, which this alone has helped this movie attain a cult following over the years. And deservedly so. I wouldn't rate this as one of the best horror movies ever made, but it's got a style and charisma not often seen in the genre, especially from the early 90s. And what it lacks in gore, suspense, and outright scares, it more than makes up for with its imaginative style, intriguing plot, and charismatic characters. Even the Candyman, which all play into this ever kind of developing fear that builds within the story itself. I would even go as far as to say that it's got a strangely romantic essence to it. The allure of the Candyman is hypnotic, almost sensual in his captivation, vampire-like in his methodology, mixed with sprinkles of Pinhead for good measure. I do enjoy its more refined, investigative kind of storyline and the way it mixes a colonial story into a modern urban setting, giving the legend new life, new meaning, and the way that for quite a lot of the film, we are left wondering as to the reality of the events that transpire. Is it life imitating legend, or indeed a legend imitating life? And it's in this that a film that it really just focuses the viewer and forces the viewer to kind of ask questions about the events they witness, rather than just having them along for the ride. Effects-wise, the movie is absolutely spot on. In an effort to save money, at the time, the director opted for practical effects, including thousands upon thousands of real bees, and even resorting to real hypnosis for some of the moments when Helen falls under Candyman's spell. In learning this, it only made me appreciate the depth of this movie, what it had overall. The fact that it was real bees actually coming out of Tony Todd's mouth is both mad and enthralling at the same time. Accompanying the suspense that builds is a very operatic yet devilishly playful soundtrack that has an ingeniously memorable theme that is used with good effect throughout, in order to kind of level the mood. Chilling at times, but all the time keeping a mindful eye on the fact that Candyman himself had a tragic and unforgivable origin, and the music indeed plays to this. Composed by Philip Glass, the soundtrack benefits the overall tone and cinematography of the movie, grand and sweeping in nature, yet personal and touching. In fact, I think the way in which the Candyman is portrayed overall is respectful to his origins. Sure, he's a killer, per se, but it's more about his legacy, his legend, his story, and in keeping this alive. At least not forget, unlike most other killers out there, he only comes out when some idiot actually goes and summons him. Overall, this is a very atmospheric, creepy, and psychological horror, introducing us to a now iconic character, the Candyman, played to excellent effect by the ever-chilling Tony Todd. Again, I wouldn't say it is one of the scariest horror films out there, and it is certainly a slow burn as it kind of back builds its premise, but it is still a captivating horror movie with a deeply tragic tale and a captivating investigative story that holds a tight grip and leaves you questioning and wondering about the events that you had just witnessed. I do often find myself kind of counting the number of times that somebody utters the word Candyman in front of a mirror in the movie, holding out for that fifth and final one to seal the deal. Almost like a kind of dark and macabre version of Sesame Street, counting with the count. But one thing, and I am not superstitious, nor do I believe necessarily that these urban legends are real, but will you find me calling out to the Candyman in front of my bathroom mirror? No. I think not. I think I will give that one a pass very much. Thank you very much. Although, thankfully, there are no mirrors in this room, as I believe now I have kind of said his name over about 19 times. So, let's just hope that a mobile phone doesn't count. So, tentatively, that brings me to the end of this episode. Many thanks for watching. I do hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please leave a like. Please do hit that subscribe button for more movie reviews, trailer reactions, and other movie-related content. Absolutely loved having you here at SciFirst MovieTalk, and definitely love to have you back. But most of all, just thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.